Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and I'm going to be doing a Zombie World deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because zombies are hands down one of my favorite decks of all time. Especially how they can just summon back all sorts of extremely powerful monsters to your side of the field and just go in for game. And I really love all the new zombie support cards we've been getting recently, especially the new Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord, which is just an absolutely amazing card. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing two copies of Doom King Baller Draw. Doom King is a really good 2-of that has the ability that during the standby phase, if there is a face-up card in the field spell zone and this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card in defense position, but you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. And then once per chain, when its zombie monster effect except Doom King Baller Draw activates its effect, except during the damage step, quick effect, you can apply one of these effects, but you can't apply that same effect of Doom King Baller Draw again this turn. You can either negate the effect or banish a monster from the field or grave, which is a great effect just to be able to get any card off the field or have a walking negate. But this card is really good in the deck because you can just link it away or go in for synchro plays, and then it just comes back every single standby phase, which is awesome. We then play a single copy of Al Ghul Mazera, which is an awesome card. I'm really excited that they actually made another Mazera card, but this card is just super cool for what it does. That if a zombie monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effects, you can manage this card from your hand or graveyard instead. And if this card is banished from the hand or grave, then you can special summon this card in defense position, and then you can reduce its level by 1, which makes it a level 7 monster, which is kind of interesting for synchro plays, but you're usually using this for link plays or using it as a 2800 beat stick to go in for game. We then play a single copy of Jackabolin. Jackabolin is just a really good zombie card to be able to put on your side of the field by just discarding any zombie monster from your hand, just puts it on your side of the field. And then during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can target a zombie monster in either player's graveyard, special summon that monster, but banish it when it leaves the field, and then banish this face-up card until the end phase, which is a really good effect just to get any zombie that you need on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Chang-Chi. Chang-Chi is a good 1-of in the deck because you can go for this card off of Gloomba first, which is really cool because it has the ability that during your main phase, you can send a zombie monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, which is really neat because you can actually go for this for Glow Up Bloom and then send to the graveyard your copy of Doom King Baller Draw off your copy of Chang-Chi, which is super good. This card also has the ability, if this card is banished, then you can banish a zombie monster in your graveyard to special summon this card, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field, and you can only use each effect of this card once per turn, but this card is a great 1-of in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Banshee. Banshee is really good as a 2-of in the deck because it helps us get to Zombie World extremely quickly. We then play 3 copies of Unizombie. Unizombie is just a great walking foolish burial for the deck that you can target a face-up monster on the field, discard a card, and then if you do, increase its level by 1, and then you can target a face-up monster on the field, and monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of the turn except zombie monsters, and then you send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, increase that target's level by 1, which helps you go in for all sorts of different synchro plays, and it's just an overall fantastic card in the deck because you can get a card out of your hand and a card out of your deck at the same time, which is great. We then play 2 copies of Gozuki. Gozuki is another walking foolish burial for the deck that has the ability that during your main phase, you can send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. Now that's every turn, which is really good. During your turn, you can send a zombie from your deck to the graveyard, which comes in very handy. It also has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you can banish a zombie monster from your graveyard except Gozuki, and then the special summon the zombie monster from your hand, which can come in handy every so often. We then play 3 copies of Mizuki. Mizuki is basically like a monster reborn. You just banish this card from your graveyard to be able to special summon any zombie monster back from your grave to your side of the field, which is a great effect. We then play a single copy of Plague Spreader Zombie. Plague Spreader Zombie is just a good 1-of in the deck that you return a card from your hand to the top of your deck, and if you special summon this card from the graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. But this card is great as a 1-of in the deck because it's super easy to bring this card out with Needle Fiber, and it's just an overall fantastic tuner monster, especially to combo with cards like your Doom King Baller Draw, so you can go in for cards like your Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord. We then play a single copy of Mad Mauler. Mad Mauler is insanely good, and this card is one of the best cards that we got out of Dimension Force, because it has the ability, this card's name becomes Plague Spreader Zombie while in the field or in the graveyard, and if this card is in the graveyard, you can target a level 6 or higher monster that you control and reduce its level by 2, and if you do, you special summon this card. Also, the player who summoned it cannot special summon monsters except for zombie monsters while this card is face up on the field in the monster zone, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. This card is great because it doesn't banish itself, and it can just come back over and over again, and it's just a fantastic monster in this deck to help you go in for synchro plays or even link plays, which is really cool. We then play 2 copies of Glow Up Bloom. Glow Up Bloom is a 2-of to me in this deck. I have considered cutting it down to 1, but I really like 2 of this card because it has the ability, if it's sent to the graveyard, then you can banish this card from the grave and add a level 5 or higher zombie monster from your deck to your hand, or if Zombie World is in the field spell zone, then you can special summon it from your deck instead. Also, in either case, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except zombie monsters, which is not the big of a deal because that's pretty much all we're summoning anyways. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good in the deck to be able to basically stop the opponent from touching the deck, so this card is a great hand trap that also just so happens to be a zombie monster. And then we play 2 copies of Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell is also a really good card in the deck because it stops the opponent from touching the graveyard, but I only play 2 copies of this card in the deck because we have so many other cards in the deck like Doom King that can stop the opponent's graveyard effects, so this card is really good in the deck to be able to just stop the opponent from touching the graveyard, and it's also a zombie monster. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is just really good in the deck to be able to get to any of your zombie monsters back on your side of the field. So this card is a great one-of in this build. 1 copy of Foolish Burial to go along with our Gozuki and Unizombie, but this card is really good to get the exact zombie you need in the graveyard when you need it. 1 copy of Change of Heart. This card is hilarious in the deck, especially when you have cards like Rivalry of Warlords on your side of the field and your opponent only can control 1 monster. You can take that monster and put it on your side of the field as long as it can be targeted, and then you just go in for game, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is really good to stop hand traps, so this card is a great one-of in the deck. We play a single copy of Instant Fusion, and then 3 copies of Ready Fusion, which we're always going to be summoning the same target off of this card. So they're pretty much just 4 copies of Instant Fusion, which is really crazy, but this card is a great starter for the deck to be able to summon any zombie on your side of the field and then activate one of these 4 to be able to summon out a zombie tuner from your extra deck, which is a level 2 tuner, to be able to go in for cards like Needle Fiber and then go full combo, which is really cool. But this card is great in the deck to help you go into all sorts of really awesome plays, just at the cost of 1,000 life points. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization is crazy comboed with Zombie World because this card lets you fusion summon using either player's monsters, which is really cool, and it's a speed spell 4, so neither player can respond to it, and all you have to do is discard a card from your hand to activate it, which can be cards like Mizuki or Baller Draught or even Glow Up Bloom, cards that you want to get into the graveyard that will go off, which is really good. We then play 3 copies of Zombie World, the most insane card in the entire deck. Zombie World is insane in this deck because all monsters on the field and in the graveyards become zombie monsters, and neither player can tribute summon monsters except zombie monsters. This card is great in the deck just to help you go in for all sorts of different plays, especially since the entire deck revolves around Zombie World, and just how powerful this field spell is and how simple it is and effective this card is in today's meta. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. We're actually not playing that many traps in the deck, but for the traps, we are going to be playing 3 copies of Rivalry of Warlords because this card is absolutely insane comboed with Zombie World because it has the ability each player must send monsters from his or her side of the field to the graveyard, so he or she only controls 1 type of monster, which is really cool, and then that player can only control 1 type of monster. But since we have Zombie World, our opponent is always going to control a zombie monster, so unless they're playing zombies, they're only going to control 1 monster at a time, which is really cool. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Red Eye's Zombie Dragon Lord. This card is awesome. I love the artwork of it, and I'm really excited they actually gave us a retrain of Red Eye's Zombie Dragon and kind of made it almost into the Red Eye's Flare Metal Dragon version of it, which is kind of cool. Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon version of it, which is kind of cool. But has the ability that during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target a zombie monster in your graveyard, accept another copy of this card, and special summon it. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish a zombie monster that you control to special summon this card, and you can only use each effect this card once per turn. Once you get this card out on your side of the field, it's going to be coming back over and over again, and if you can get a monster in your opponent's graveyard that's super powerful, this card can basically revive it back to your field during their turn, which is really, really awesome. We then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is a really good card in this deck, but it is a really expensive card, so if you do want to change this card out, you can change it out for the level 10 Sword Soul card, which is another card that you guys can put in here that is a synchro monster, but it's a really good card to be able to put in the deck if you want to. You can also put Psychic End Punisher, which is kind of a neat card in the deck as well, especially with you having so many level manipulating monsters. But this card is really good in the deck because it lets you target a card on the field once per turn and destroy it, and then it is a walking negate, so it's a very good card in the deck. We play a same copy of the Skeletal Dragon Felgran. This card is very neat. I'm so excited that they made a new Felgran card, which is just really cool. But this card has the ability, if this card is special summon, you can target a monster your opponent controls or in the graveyard and just banish it. And if a monster is special summoned from either player's graveyard while this monster is on the field, except during the damage step, you can target one other face-up monster on the field and negate its effects until the end of the turn, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Borreload Savage Dragon. Borreload Savage is really good in the deck because it's super easy to make and just gives you a walking negate. One copy of the Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler is really good in the deck because it can get a bunch of cards in the graveyard super fast so that you can fill up the graveyard with all sorts of different zombies. One copy of Immortal Dragon, which is an absolutely insane card and super easy to actually make in the deck. It has the ability that during your main phase, you can send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes the difference in the original levels of that monster and this monster. And when your zombie monster is destroyed by battle while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish when it leaves the field. This card is great in the deck because it helps you go in for so many different plays, and it's just really good that you just get to send more zombies from your deck to the graveyard, especially if you synchro summon with this card to summon out your copy, or use Mizuki to summon this card and then send any zombie that you want to the graveyard off this card's effect to give you another play, because you can just banish the Mizuki to bring back whatever you sent to the graveyard off this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Formula Synchron, because Formula Synchron is a really good one-of that you can summon out with your copy of Needle Fiber to get you into some really cool plays, and it also lets you draw a card when you summon it. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code is really good in the deck to give you additional pops, and it's just a really good card. One copy of Vampire Sucker. Vampire Sucker is really, really good in any zombie deck, and it's overall just a fantastic card in this build. One copy of Needle Fiber. Needle Fiber is still really, really fantastic in the deck and helps you summon out your copies of Mad Mauler, your copies of your Glow Up Bloom, just all sorts of different plays in the deck with this card. It's just a really good starter for the deck, along with your copies of Ready or Instant Fusion plus any normal summon. This card is just really good. We play a single copy of Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh is really good just in case we do draw into the copy of Glow Up Bloom. If you want to change this out for the Vendrid Link monster, you totally can if you want to go for that route. I didn't play the Vendrid Link monster in the deck because the extra deck is very, very tight. So if you guys want to change this card out, you totally can. We then play a single copy of Nether Soul Dragon, which is one of our super poly targets. This card is really, really good because it generates tokens on our side of the field, which is nice. We then play a single copy of Starving Venom. Starving Venom is a really good card to be used with Super Poly, so this card is just a fantastic one-of in the deck. And then we play two copies of Allvain. Allvain is insanely good and our target for our Instant Fusion and Ready Fusion. The reason I'm playing just Allvain in the deck is because we're usually going for even levels of monsters, like our copies of Immortal Dragon, our copies of Chaos Ruler, Borreload Savage, Skeletal Dragon, Baron, and even Red Eye Zombie Dragon. They're all even numbers to go into. I believe Zombie Dragon, this is a level 6, and then you have a bunch of 8s and 10s. So this card comes in very handy to go in with your copy of Baller Drop to be able to go in for any of your level 10s, or you can use your level 6s to go in for the 8s, or you can use any level 4 to go in for your copy of Immortal Dragon. So it's really nice to have the level 2 over the Sea Monster. I don't play that card that much anymore because it just doesn't come up as much as it used to, but I found that Allvain comes up all the time, so I did bump this card up to 2. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's really insane. This deck is super fun to be able to play. It's really insane now that we have all the new support cards. cards. I'd still play it kind of like a control deck where you're trying to summon out all sorts of different monsters and then lock your opponent down with Rivalry plus Zombie World. But it's really amazing all the new cards that we got out of Dimension Force to just carry this deck to the next level. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.